QAnon, my futon, hold it up and smoke it. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically, it's
we got this.
So,
Revolution.
Winner's frosty hand. Muhammad is the fame's name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealous.
truth, because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say.
Grand Risings, and welcome back to another season of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. We're excited to have you join us on this journey of thoughtful discourse and community engagement. The Urban Conservative is proudly sponsored by the Leon Black Network, an organization committed to promoting transparency, truth, and accountability in our media landscape. Here at the Urban Conservative, our mission remains steadfast to bring you the latest news directly from the streets, addressing critical topics such as gun violence, crime, politics, and perhaps, most importantly, exploring solutions to the profound challenges our communities face. As we embark on this third season, the focus is clear. It's time to actively contribute to the transformation of our communities for the better. How can we achieve this? The answer lies in a multifaceted approach that starts with reconnecting with our core family values. Strengthening our sense of community is paramount, fostering bonds that transcend the barriers that often divide us. Moreover, it involves embracing our foundational roots, recognizing the historical and cultural threads that weave through the fabric of our society. In this season, we are calling for more than words. We seek action. It's a plea to move beyond mere rhetoric and engage in tangible, impactful initiatives that contribute to positive change. The time for empty words has passed. Now more than ever, we need to put our convictions into action. Together, united by a common purpose, we can make a substantial and lasting difference in the well-being of our communities. So join us on this journey as we explore not only the challenges, but also the opportunities for growth and progress. Together, let's turn our shared vision for stronger, safer, and more connected communities into a reality. Thank you for being a part of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal, a platform dedicated to fostering change and making a positive impact on the world around us. Shut up and help. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Who's ready for this morning? This morning, the topic that I want to talk about is lost narratives. Rediscovering the essence of Black American roots. And the reason that I want to talk about this today is because I think, there's so much going on in the world, and it makes you wonder, Like, why? You know what I'm saying? And, once you start looking back into history and you start reading, you see the 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 change, right? You see the shift in history. And I always wonder, like nowadays, why isn't that talked about? Why isn't the history taught? You know what I'm saying? Of, different things of like the Homestead Act or the Compensation Act. There's so many different things. But they tell us about, the civil rights bills. You know what I'm saying? They tell us about affirmative action. They tell us about equal rights opportunity, EOE. But they never tell us about the things of when Black Americans were self-sufficient, when Black Americans owned oil rigs, you know what I'm saying, when they owned farmlands, when they owned banks. They try to hide that part of history because and that's something that, as well, I'm going to talk about today and show you a video and also about history, about Black Americans, and seeing that we had our own little towns, our own communities, because now we have neighborhoods. We don't have communities. We have neighborhoods, and we have Black ghettos. We have, Black projects, but we don't have Black communities of what we used to have. We don't have Black Wall Street. We don't have, I'm going to talk about Lake Lanier at some point, the history of Lake Lanier, man-made lakes. And because those man-made lakes, a lot of that is them covering towns, them covering cities with Black cities with water. And then we wonder why different things are haunted. Bless up, bless up. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I think that is such a big part of why Black people don't know who we are, because we don't know our history. We don't know where we come from. Because I'll tell you this right now, since me for being in the movement, I really didn't know a lot about my family's history. And it made me want to dig in deeper when and being in Red Wing, because that's where I started my journey at my civil rights, fighting for Black empowerment and Black self-sufficiency. It started in Red Wing, Minnesota. And I started doing the history there. And I found some incredible stories of Jeremiah Patterson, Eli Fields, Black business owners before the civil rights era, before we had, rights. This is before the 19th century, before 1900, and the only reason why it's so hard to find these records of Black home ownership, because there's, Red Wing, Minnesota had a Black teacher, but those records are gone. Those records are missing. Because they were lost in the fire. But a lot of people don't know that because we don't know history. We don't know our past, right? And that's the hard part for me, is because how do you move forward, right? How do you not repeat history? You got to learn history. That's how you don't repeat something. You got to learn it. So that's why we are repeating history, right? Because history repeats itself. And that's what we're seeing. Now is the time to rise up and to start that revolution. And I'm not talking about a revolution of picking up a gun and shooting people. No, that's not the kind of revolution I'm talking about. I'm talking about an education revolution of knowing where we came from, not just going to, because I'll tell you right now, when I find the Neal family, when I look up the Neal family history of my ancestry, I don't see the name Neal. What they've tell me and what I found, right, is a number, not a name, a number, right? But when I go on to my grandma's side, to Francis' side, I see a history, and I can find a history that dates before America to South America. I'm not for sure where. If I go by my DNA history, I would assume it's somewhere down by Brazil or somewhere in that region. But do I go by that? I guess I don't really have no other choice. That's as far as I can go with it. But do people really know where they come from? Because, and this is the thing why I feel like us Black Americans don't understand where we come from, because they tell us that we're African American, right? But I have no connections to Africa other than the color of my skin. That's the only resemblance to me that I know of Africa, right? Is that I know there's the color of my skin, and to know that through history, through the transatlantic slave trade, is how a majority of us Black Americans got here, is because of slavery, regardless if we were shipped here to America or if we were shipped down to South America, because people got to understand that it was a three-way system. And people, that's the one thing of what bugs me is we don't know our history, because we built America for free. We built America for free. How do you think America became to be what America was? Because of slavery. Because of slavery. Slavery off the backs of Blacks. So I want to play this little, or do I want to play this first? Which one do I want to play? Because y'all going to be like, damn, this nigga playing a lot of. So let me, we'll play this one. Because I think, all right, is this the one that nope, that's not the one I want to play. So let me play this one. Because that's not the one I want to play. All right. So, I'm going to play this real quick.
Black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity. This is why they chopped those noses off of the Pharaoh and the Sphinx in Egypt in the first place. Is because without this nose, we can tell you this is whoever it is. Why do white people pay so much attention to Black people if they don't like them? I don't pay attention to things I don't like. The liar knows what lie he told. Even if I made it deceitful and I made you think that the answer's over here, but the answer is really over here, I'm still going to be looking over here because I know this is the right answer.
Think about that, right? We don't even know, understand where we come from. I'm going to play that one more time. One more time. Boy, I need to learn that. Right.
Black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity. This is why they chopped those noses off of the Pharaoh and the Sphinx in Egypt in the first place. Is because without this nose, we can tell you this is whoever it is. Why do white people pay so much attention to Black people if they don't like them? I don't pay attention to things I don't like. The liar knows what lie he told. Even if I made it deceitful and I made you think that the answer's over here, but the answer is really over here, I'm still going to be looking over here because I know this is the right answer.
Makes you think, huh? Does it not make people wonder or Think about that, because why do they not tell us our true history, right? But then yet they will tell us the BS. They'll tell us the Disney, but they won't tell us about the experiments. They won't tell us the traumas that they put our ancestors through, right? And people think that politics is going to change that. People got to look at it. You're still a quarter, still a quarter. No matter which way you flip it, heads or tails, it's still a quarter. They're the same thing. So until we really realize that, we're not going to get anywhere, because they're literally trying to erase the Black Americans so that we don't even understand where we come from. You know, and that's what I want people to understand. You know, and just going back to Red Wing, you know, there was a hanging there, there was a lynching there. There was a lynching in Red Wing, Minnesota. And the crazy part about it is that that was something that the city and the people attempted to hide. And the whole time it was an archived information. It was in old articles, news articles that was written and that were kept. There is so much archived information that if we went back and really looked at, you know, especially if you're in small town America, I guarantee it, you go back and you look at archived information about where you live or where you come from, and you'll find so much shit, because I have. Minneapolis, St. Paul, from mafia to lynchings to race riots. And it's crazy how that's things that we have to find out on our own. That's not things that they willingly want to tell us. They don't want to tell us about prosperity, right? They don't want to tell us about none of that. And we should have a problem with that. But we don't. And yet we should. We should have a big, 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 big problem with that. And yet we don't. And yet we don't. So I want to play this video. So this is what I'm playing right now, is from the 1920s, about Black towns, about Black communities. And I just want people to see this, because there's some names in here that I didn't even know about until this morning. And I'm a 46-year-old Black man. So I just want people to just listen. It's only about a minute and 45 seconds.
And Oklahoma is a unique space in terms of the number of African American towns. Between Reverend S.S. Jones was going around documenting this sort of self-determined, vibrant African American communities. You see the African American educators, doctors, lawyers, landowners, oil barons, and I think that's what's so remarkable about this footage. To think that individuals, how many years out of slavery, are now owning oil wells that are producing 2,000 barrels a day. Is that not the ultimate American dream? Is that not the ultimate American story? It flies in the face of what I think some people consider part of African American history and culture. And I think that was one of the things that Oklahoma and what S.S. Jones is really kind of showing, is that African American history and culture is not a monolith. And in a way, it became kind of like a marketing tool to encourage individuals to migrate, to move there, that this is a place where you can live, you can thrive, and peacefully reside. There were still palpable racial tensions. There are lynchings, there's Jim Crow, segregation, there's all of these things, and you still have an African American community or many communities that really speak to the fortitude and resilience of Black people in this country.
That's not things that they tell us growing up in school. That's not things that they willingly want to tell us, and we should have a problem with that, because they want to tell us about the Holocaust. You know, we can talk about that all day. You know, we can talk about, you know, world wars, or we could talk about the Civil War, but they don't want to tell you. They just tell you, oh, it was about slavery, and that's fine and dandy. But let's get into it, because there was a deeper issue. It was a multifaceted issues at that, right? It wasn't just slavery. It was about taxation. It was about other things, just like with the American Revolution. Do people even understand why we had the American Revolution? It wasn't just about the Boston Tea Party. It wasn't about just about taxation. It was also because, again, it was about slavery. But people, they won't tell you that. They'll tell you about, oh, it was about taxation. It was about slavery too, because Britain prohibited slavery. That's why we had the American Revolution. Don't let these fools tell you something else, because you go look it up yourself and you'll see that. Go look it up. Go look it up. But that's not things that they'll tell us. America fought to keep slavery. They fought to keep slavery. That's why we had the American Revolution. And then we had the Civil War to abolish it and to prohibit it. All while they just found it a way to make slavery legal by adding the 13th Amendment with involuntary servitude. That's why you have inmates who are some wrongfully convicted making $2 a day, while you have Department of Corrections making millions off the backs of cheap labor. Well, it's not free because it's involuntary servitude. You know, they can't just do, you know, slave labor anymore. Got to pay them a little bit. So they'll pay them 25 cents an hour. Or if you're down south in Louisiana, you might get, you know, $2 a day. And yet they get all that money. It's just the same way out here, you know, you know, you have to look at the cost of services, right? I just went to the doctor just not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, and it was a $2,000 appointment where I was only in the doctor's office for like 20 minutes. I was longer out in the waiting area for like 3 hours, and it was a $2,000 bill. So we have to sit here and to think about that. What are we standing for? Because we literally will spend. So the way I think about it is, I literally sat in a hospital where they charged me $2,500 to just be seen for 15 minutes. Now, can I be mad at that for the way that they charge? Because we have to think about that. We literally have, why do you think that with all this immigration, they're trying to get rid of us and to get cheaper labor so that they don't have to pay a living wage all while everything else goes up? everything that is going on is to get rid of Black Americans. And yet we don't even stand up and fight and do anything. I see Black people calling, dude. What's crazy, and I'm going to get into this too in a couple of minutes, is to talk about, Palestine and Israel and Gaza, because you literally can't, an injustice anywhere is an injustice anywhere, everywhere. My bad. So I can't go one day without talking about the genocide that is going on right in front of our eyes. And but before I get into that, I'm just gonna finish up on the Black American roots, and it's insane of how they are literally not even attempting, because they're doing it right in front of our eyes, but because of the fact that we're undereducated and we don't understand the things that are going on or the things that they're doing. Because first of all, we don't read the legislation. We go with the fear mongering, or we go with just what people are telling us instead of going and getting the information for ourselves. And again, that's another problem that we literally need to do something about, because we're being left behind. We're being left behind. And I need people to pay attention. I'm not going to say, and wake up. Don't wake up. Just pay attention. Pay attention to what is going on in your community. Pay attention to the legislation that's being written locally, federally, county. Pay attention, because there is so much that is going on right now that we're not even paying attention to, because we're focused on other things. They want us to be deflected and distracted instead of looking at what's right in front of us, because they want us to just be desensitized to it. It's just like how out in New York and Chicago, you have migrants sleeping in schools. You have migrants. You literally have city entities taking over public schools, airports, terminals, all in the name of turning it into homeless shelters, all while our kids are suffering. They're not able to go to school. Think about it. Oh, right. No, but see, you bring up a very good point, Ruth. It is going to affect them, but they don't even understand that, because at the end of the day, they think that they're better. Well, I don't really even see a middle class anymore in America. I think that's been, now you're either you're rich or poor, because there's too many people that are living, paycheck to paycheck, don't have a savings account, or, don't have that nest egg anymore. And, getting new tires or a brake job, or, having an emergency situation can really deplenish or put you in debt to the money you have. So I really don't even believe that we even have a middle class anymore, just because of the way that we live above our means, and the fact that we don't understand nest eggs. We don't understand retirement savings. We don't understand 401ks. We don't understand life insurance, and just so many different things that will help us out in the long run and save us money in the long run. We just don't understand it. So that's why I just don't believe that there's a middle class anymore. You have two types of wealth. You're either rich or you're either poor. I don't believe there is a middle class anymore, because that middle class used to be able to survive an emergency situation where You don't even see that anymore. Oh yeah, it definitely is. The immigration policy is hurting everybody. It definitely is hurting everybody, and it's crazy that people don't even understand that. And it's crazy, you know. I'm glad you brought up this point because I'm gonna still talk about Black American roots, but I'm also gonna talk about the immigration policies as well as I'm gonna talk about The Color Purple, the movie, the book by Alice Walker. I didn't realize that I was young when The Color Purple first came out. Um, I didn't really understand. I watched the movie with my mother, um, but just seeing an interview with the writer of the book and Whoopi Goldberg from, I think the interview was from 1992, I think, or 1993. Uh, but how much backlash they got for that, the movie, because of first about, you know, and I didn't know that the Color Purple was a lesbian love story, or it was a like part of the Seeley story. I didn't really fully understand that back then. Um, I didn't understand that, you know, they made Black men look bad. I didn't really comprehend that watching it back then. But after reading about Alice Walker and how she was married to a Jewish man from 1967 to 1976, um, and the things that she has, you know, came out and stated about, you know, Jewish people and how they try to, it's crazy. It kind of blew me away. I really didn't know the full story or the history um, behind the whole thing with Color Purple, because they say that it has to do with anti-Semitism. Uh, it has to do with a lesbian story, and I guess people were mad that it should have been more on the book. I'm not gonna lie, I've never read the book. I probably should now though, and just see how much different the book was from the movie, and see if it was more sexual. There, Whoopi says that it was, but to talk about, you know, being a lesbian in 1984 was not something that was talked about like it is today. Um, I didn't even know that the Color Purple didn't even win any awards. I know that it was Emmy nominated. Uh, yeah, it really just baffled me to hear the things that uh, now that, and I didn't know then. And you are so correct, Mike. You are so correct, because if you look at, let's say, roots, since we're talking about Black American roots, if you look at roots, right, you read the book and then you watch the movie, there is so many, it's such a difference. There is such a difference between the book and the movie. And I don't know if it was to desensitize or, you know, because I think about it now, you know, radio play, or even movies, they've gotten so much more looser. But back then, you weren't able to put things like that on TV. I mean, that, if I remember correctly, I think Roots came out in 1979. Yes, yes, big facts. Definitely, it. Then most, you know, books are, even with Richard Pryor. Um, shit, you know, the book about his life is raw, and I'm sure the movie is not going to be anywhere near compared to his real life experience if they ever do come out with that movie. But yeah, you are correct. The books are way more deeper intel and detail than what they actually do put in movies. And it's sad because you would think we would want people to actually read the book and not just, because I feel like sometimes a movie is just like reading the back of the book. You know, it just gives you a summary. It doesn't actually give you the full story. And I think that's why I love to read. And that's something that I've been doing a lot lately with the audiobooks. Thank you, Spotify, for actually doing that. Because if you have a Spotify subscription, you get, I think, I don't know, there's so many hours or so many books a month. So I've been, you know, at work and I listen to audiobooks. I listen to podcasts from the past, and I listen to old interviews. And I, for me, feel like if I don't learn something new every day, if I'm not educating somebody else on something that they didn't know, we're not doing our part. You know, it's supposed to be reach one, teach one, each one, teach one. And I just don't, I'm not seeing that out here because people are so afraid. And I just wonder, what are we afraid of? But you know, yeah, the truth can be scary, but we can get through it together. I mean, look, you got to look at it right now. Like we living as people have gotten through. I mean, shit, I just think about the last 3 years, 4 years. We've gotten through, you know, riots. We've gotten through COVID. We got to give it up to the ones that are still here in this Jumanji ass bullshit world, because we're making it through some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we're a part of history that whoever thought that in high school we'd be able to say that we knew somebody that got killed by a car that wasn't driven by somebody, it was driving itself. You know what's crazy? I don't know if it's because of Alice Walker and she wrote it, if it was because of, I know, I just, the article that I read about Whoopi and Alice and how it was anti-Semitism, I don't know, maybe it was something to do with she followed somebody, some Will Eek guy, somebody, I guess, I don't know, he came out with some book talking about the revelations of life or the truth of life, or I don't know, something. And I guess if you blame anything on Israel or Jews, you get called anti-Semitic. Yeah, because Minneapolis is definitely about to be off the chain, man. They're definitely about to be off the chain up there. And what baffles me about the whole Gaza, Palestine, Israel, everybody wants to condone. They, you know, the way that I see it is, Israel is calling for a collective punishment of Palestinians, all because of Hamas. And if you stand up for Palestinians, you're seen as Hamas. And I don't think, for me, that's not fair. Because what people don't understand, and I'm not going to call Hamas a terrorist organization, because if we're going to do that, then I'm going to call the Democrats and the Republicans are domestic terrorists organizations, because of the simple fact of these are people that are fighting for their liberty. These are people fighting for their rights. And just like how the Black Panthers did the same way, they were condemned the same way that Hamas is over here, but all because our government is telling that, but they won't call the KKK a terrorist organization. So I'm not gonna call people that are fighting by any means necessary for their rights and freedoms of their people. I'm not gonna, Now, I will say this, that killing children, regardless, whatever it is wrong. And I do agree with a lot of people. What is a ceasefire going to do? It's just neglecting something that's going to happen later on again down the road. So is that what we really, how about from the river to the sea? I don't know. I just don't know. Because it's, you start talking about, the things that are wrong in America and with Black America. And you get called all types of shit nowadays, man. And it's crazy when you just literally, nobody wants to have a respectful, peaceful discourse. It's always got to be, oh, you a bitch, nigga, you a bitch, you a hoe, you're a dick rider, you're this, you're that. All when you're just simply trying to educate people or trying to have a public dialogue to try to get to a better understanding. But yet people, the first thing that when they disagree with you, they want to start calling you names. It's like, damn, have we really got that bad as a people that we can't even talk to each other? Without being disrespectful? I wish I was this way now in like 2020, 2021. I don't think I'd have so many enemies. I literally don't think I would have so many enemies. If I just knew what I knew. And I, one thing that I always say, and I've always believed that this fight is good versus evil, right versus wrong. And I say we have two teams, right? I'm gonna put it like this. There's two teams. You're either on God's team, you're either on God's side, or you're on the other side. There isn't any more in the middle. So if you're on the other side, you're not. You can't call yourself being a part of a God's team. And you're okay with politicians being sex traffickers or having orgies with kids. You can't be okay with pastors and nonprofit organizations fraudulently taking money. You can't be okay with police out here shooting and killing people. I will say this. I don't know what you mean by not being a godly person, because we all believe in something that is greater than ourselves. I do believe that. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I do believe that we even atheists believe in higher powers. They might not believe in God, right? But they do believe I believe, a higher power. Um, and when I say God, like it's still the same thing, right versus wrong, good versus evil. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, I believe that if we're talking about, God's side or the other side, for me would be okay, okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I just see it of that, like I look at so I would say it like this: my higher power is God, right? And I know not everybody has a relationship with God, or some might question. Um, and other people, higher power might be nature, it might be music, because that's what helps them, or that's what heals them, that's what guides them. Um, But at the end of the day, we all still know the difference between right and wrong. And we should be teaching others right versus wrong. You definitely definitely have a point that everybody's higher power is different. That's why, and you do bring up a great point, because our ancestors are supposed to lead us, right? And I believe that that's why they don't want us understanding where we came from, because they don't want us to understand our family values, that where they don't want us having pride in the walk that we walk, because at every direction they always want to make us feel little. They want to belittle us. They want us to feel strong, little than anybody. And you know what's crazy, Mike, is I've never given you credit for this, bro. But I will say this, is that you are a hell of a man. Even though we might have had disagreements, you've always stood on what you mean. When you say something, you mean it. And that's one thing that I've loved about you. And one thing that you've grown as, when you're wrong, you will admit when you're wrong now. And that's growth, because that's the way that we change. So I think Mark Carter was out of line with his post of these two women calling them wenches and sucking. If he was trying to stand up for Isaiah Washington, I felt he could have found a much appropriate way to do that. Let's talk about that, because I did find a lot of issues with that, and how everything that has blown up. And I've been trying to pay more attention in these Twitter spaces lately. And I've been in some very good ones. And let's talk about the Isaiah Washington. If people don't know who that is, he's an actor, a Black actor from Grey's Anatomy, who is making himself very vocal recently, for whatever reasons it may be. Maybe he is sick and tired of seeing his Black people hurt, seeing his people traumatized and brutalized, and wants, to do better. I don't know if the way he's doing it is a good way, but I will say that I'm learning. But to go back to what Ruth was saying, is that there was a lot of things that were said that were bogus. And let me see actually if I can pull up Mark Clark real quick, because I have been on his page quite a lot recently, just trying to find different things. Let's see. Oh, damn! I don't even know who those two. Let me put it up there. I did find the post. I don't even know who those women are, to be exactly. I know one of them might be maybe Nikki Barnes. I think her name is, because I definitely don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know none of these people like that. I'm only really, especially if they're in a Republican like, yeah. So it's been brought to my attention that both of you mammies, bed wenches, been sucking, fucking, and having babies by with KKK members, Brad and Ken. Then why can't I support Trump? Yeah, I don't know what that is actually about. I think it was, towards the LGBT. I think, it was towards the LGBTQ community. He did. And I didn't even know that. You know what I'm saying? And again, what's crazy is that we can lose our jobs. We can lose our livelihoods for the things that we say, right? But then I look at like a Harvey Weinstein or a Jeffrey Epstein or the Steens, or you look at like Bill Clinton, um, all these things that we're seeing in real time with, you know, child pedos and all the scamming of money and fraudulent behaviors. And then we wonder why we just sit back and we nothing happens. It's because we are too undereducated to really realize what's going on. We're gaslit, we're blackballed, definitely blackballed. And it's just not even, we get blackballed in our own communities, Black, straight, heterosexual men, when you stand up for the right things. And again, that's part of design. It's by design. It's by a system that is built and was built foundationally to protect itself. And that we keep on voting that way for the system to keep protecting itself. We don't ever want to go in a different direction, and people are scared to think outside that box because what's inside that box keeps that system formatted. It keeps that system together. And that's why you see Black Americans. Oh yeah, he does. He's still working. You can't, I don't want to get into the blackball thing with celebrities, because we all know why that is. But when we sit here and we look inside our own, communities, we have people that will, like even right now, if people aren't paying attention what's going on in Minneapolis, they are trying to pass a resolution to call for a ceasefire. And while I a little bit agree with Latrice Vita's statement about, what does that have to do with us? Again, they're at a local level, things that they're not, there's only so much that they can do. Now, when she starts calling people terrorists, but yet you won't call your own police department terrorists in their own side, because at the end of the day, that's what they do. They terrorize our community. But yet you'll call a political organization, because let's be factual, Hamas is also a political organization. They are a political, just like Democrats and Republicans. The only difference is they have a military fraction. That's the only difference. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Look it up. Go understand what Hamas is. Well, that's why these people are flying in private jets and have leadership roles in those cities, in those establishments, in that country. And all the while, because we're told by mainstream media, we're told by the mouthpieces, the paid spokesmen, to believe in another way. And that's not how it goes, because you literally have the president of Israel calling for a genocide, of getting rid of all Palestinians, not just getting rid of who they're at war with, Hamas, right? They're actually at war with Palestinians. And he's calling for the ethnical cleansing of Palestinians. How is that not a genocide? I'm just saying. And yet you come out and say that you stand with Palestine, you're called anti-Semitic, or that you don't like Jewish people. No, that's not the case. I don't have nothing to do with that. I just don't want to see anybody die. I don't want to see kids get killed. Doesn't make because I stand with Palestine. It's because I understand history. I understand what was there before 1947. I understand that there was a mass movement of Jewish people. And for why? Because of the Holocaust. I understand history, right? Just like how everybody's coming over here for a better opportunity. But see, what happened is the world powers came together and made up Israel. That's what happened. Not saying that Israel isn't real, because it is, even in biblical terms. Israel is, but not the way that we see it. Israel is not the same in biblical terms. So just like in the Bible, it doesn't say God what Jesus looks like. It doesn't say he's got blonde hair, blue eyes. It just says he's got fair skin, and that people are darker in that area. But yet we see pictures of a blonde hair, blue eye Jesus in a region that is dark in the Middle East. But yet we're supposed to believe that there's a Jesus is blonde hair, blue eye in a region that is predominantly dark. And the Bible even says that. Right. Exactly. Hair of wool. I don't know no white person that got the hair of wool. They got straight. But yet we believe the shit that they put in front of us. But I do need to want to just stay away from the dress if you're a black man. And what I mean by that dress is hold your integrity, right? Because that's why I haven't wore that dress, right? Because I've stood on my values. Because if I was I'll tell you right now where a situation where I would have been wearing that dress is in Red Wing with that backdoor deal with Evan Brown. I would have signed that, right? Even though that it would have been, I'd have been able to do things for the community. I was still able to do things for the community without silencing myself, right? I didn't. So I will say that. That's why I say that, that dress isn't always about putting on a dress. It's about your integrity. It's about your values and what you believe in. It's not always about having to be doing feminine things. It's about your integrity of doing things that you know is wrong. That's what that dress is about. So I hope everybody enjoys their Thursday. Definitely will be back tomorrow. Definitely got some other things coming up in the near future. Be on the lookout for the deluxe album. I will be releasing that. I have a couple new songs on there, and just want people to, hear these artists. Matthew, the Prophet of the Past, Matty Ice. Some really good things on it. And I want people to listen. I know everybody doesn't, maybe listen to this type of music, but it's spoken word to a beat, and it's all about no football tonight. Oh, it's Thursday night football, right? Well, it should have been playoffs. We just get ready for Saturday. I know the Vikings is out. Just get ready for the playoffs. Enjoy Haley. Get out and maybe get out with the dog. Go enjoy the snow. Just go out and enjoy the snow. But I do have some other things coming up. I will be doing another podcast, but this one, it'll be interviewing people. So if you do anything in your community and you're trying to make awareness in your community, regardless if it's through education, if it is through trying to build unity, reach out, because you can definitely come on. I'll be starting that February 1st, Black History Month, and So yeah, please, regardless if you're a lawyer, real estate, if you're a teacher, if you're a cook, restaurant owner, come on and tell your experience, you know, because we need to hear that. We need to hear success stories. I want to know people's success stories. I want to know where people came from. I want to know your journey, because your story is your glory. And without us knowing people's stories, we'll never know real glory. And that's what I find. And I want to know people's, regardless of whatever background you come from. If you came from a silver spoon or a plastic spoon, I want to know about it. The people want to know about it, you know, because we can all learn from other people's experiences. We can all learn from other people's life perspectives, because that's what this is about. Reach one, teach one. When we know better, we do better. So with that being said, man, y'all have a great Thursday. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. Y'all have a great one.
Every day, fighting for my life. Every day, fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Bread grew from the seed you thought was rot. I think not. Fire bred desire to rise above denial, to rise from former ashes to face new trials. Trial or triumph. I am enough. Trial to triumph. I am enough. Every day I fight for my life. Every day